Right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's Trend Signal podcast. My name is Adrian Boothie. I'm the head of trading here at Trend Signal, and today, alongside my colleague Jerry Miller. Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Hello, morning all. Hello.
We're going to be going through, really what's going on with the markets in the How to Trade Forex and Stock Markets podcast. We're going to be talking about Trump getting Covid-19 and the effect that's having on the markets. We're going to be talking about the fiscal aid package in the US and how it might be a step closer to going through, maybe. And also talking about the poor jobs data from last week. And it's making for a bit of volatility, a bit of interesting moves on the markets, Jerry. But do you want to kick us off with a little bit about perhaps not last week, but maybe what's happened so far this week? Here we are, Monday morning.
Well, yeah, Monday morning. We had all that news Friday with Trump and the First Lady being tested for COVID, which sort of, for a lot of people, doesn't come as any surprise when you see what they were doing in the Rose Garden the previous weekend. Just not what we'd call,
isn't it?
Just you're not supposed to shake people's hands. Everyone does this elbow and fist bumping and stuff, and you've got. There's this one Republican senator I saw hugging and kissing all the other people who were attending, and you just think, don't come near me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there we go. But Far East markets have rallied overnight, strangely enough, having had the report on Friday evening. This was after the market shut that Trump had been taken into hospital, which they said was an abundance of caution. But nevertheless, it was all a bit sort of confusing in some respects. There was a bit of certainly confusion over his prognosis from the doctors at the hospital, and then the messages coming out of the White House. So anyway, the markets have rebounded somewhat, and I think possibly on the back of Trump coming out of hospital today, but probably more likely some sort of confidence about the second fiscal aid package. But I still think that's some way off, Adrian.
Yeah, so we're seeing the Dow up 170 points or something like that today. Of course, the US hasn't come in yet, so it's still a little bit early to get too excited about it because they might react differently. But yes, I mean, if it is down to the fiscal aid package, we've talked about this before about how the Democrats are so far away from the Republicans, and it's interesting. We've discussed this before, that really the Democrats just seem to want to make their package so far away than the Republicans, so that really they'll never agree before the presidential election.
I would say. I mean, the Democrats have tabled a significant package that hasn't got, was not in agreement with what the Republicans wanted, and there's been all these negotiations since then. And there's some sort of confidence now that they're starting to meet a little bit. But I don't know. If I were the Democrats, why would you want to rush to get this agreed before the 3rd of November when potentially you're going to have the whip hand in both houses, i.e., in the House of Representatives and the Senate? So it just sort of seems a bit less likely, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, it's unlikely that they're going to do it for the good of humanity instead of political reasons, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, that's right. Well, in the longer term, obviously they'll get the right decision. But what is it? We're 5th of October, and the election's on the 3rd of November, and Trump's in hospital with COVID, and there's huge amounts of uncertainty. I just don't think that's going to happen. It might do. Maybe the Republicans will cave. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the pictures being out in his motorcade, wasn't there? And then probably infecting all the people, all his security staff that are in his car. It's all very strange, the sort of behaviour.
You're talking about this drive past? Yeah. I mean, that is utter madness. Anyone who is infectious to then get into any car, you're supposed to be isolating and locked down. I mean, it's bizarre behaviour, Adrian, and you just got to wonder, he can't be that well if he's making a decision like that. This is the guy that, after all, has got the access to the launch codes better than the US's nuclear arsenal.
Yeah, it's strange behaviour, but desperate times, I suppose, Jerry.
Yeah.
All right. So, what about the equity markets in general last week? A bit more positive than the prior week, certainly.
Yeah, it was absolutely. Things certainly improved early on in the week anyway, from the
Yes.
wobbles from the previous week. Let's be clear. But I think news that when Trump announced that he tested positive, and this was early, what is it, sort of 6:15 Friday morning our time, so
Yeah.
well before the US Open
Huge
day.
plunge, didn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But then rebounded, when the US market opened, and then went down again, then up again. But it really actually put non-farm payroll in the shade in a way, although the data was a little bit underwhelming, to be honest. But
Yes.
that was not the story Friday, which normally it would be, because it's probably the most key release, along with an interest rate decision, that you can get during the month.
Yeah.
But no, Trump managed to keep the
He
focus
likes to
on him.
he likes to steal the show, doesn't he?
He
It's,
doesn't.
it's
He loves it. He doesn't like it when someone else does. I'm not letting that non-farm payroll get in my way.
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's yeah.
Interestingly, I was reading that October is statistically the most volatile month of the year, and it's often quite a strong month too. So statistically, so I guess here we are, sort of second day of October on Friday, and it's sort of living up to that expectation, probably.
Yeah, golly, but you've got what, 30 days until the election. Yeah, it could go anywhere, Adrian, really. But I think the perceived wisdom now is that whether it be Trump, whether it be Biden, the stock market is going to continue to do well, because there is no alternative. We've used that phrase so many
Yeah.
times over the last year, 2 years, and that remains, especially with interest rates being crushed by the Fed back at the beginning of the pandemic. You've only got one place to put your money, Adrian, as always.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. FTSE up about 1%, Jerry. Dow up around sort of just shy of 2%. So just generally strong across the board for equities. What about the currencies? How have they been performing?
Well, the dollar had given a little bit of ground back as the risk off mode has slipped a bit, but I think it will probably persist, i.e., I don't think the dollar is about a collapse. I think that'll, if there is going to be a further erosion in the dollar's value, I think that's not going to happen until after the US election, i.e., that trend, the weakening trend in the dollar will
Yes.
continue, possibly. But I think that's really ahead of the US election, the presidential election. I think there's a lot of uncertainty, so I suspect the dollar probably will remain stable-ish, really. But it's not the dollar, it's sterling is the exciting one, Adrian. Look at sterling.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been some big moves there, and of course the talks still continue between the UK and the European Union to sort of narrow their differences, don't they? So they had been kind of poles apart, but
Well, I still think they probably are, but I know that Boris Johnson had a Zoom online chat with EU Commission President, that's Ursula von der Leyen, and I think they both agreed to push ahead with these, what I refer to as tunnel negotiations. And I think David Frost and Michel Barnier have done as much as they can, perhaps under the current remit, to narrow their differences. And the differences are, the level playing field, which is all to do with state subsidies, and also the access to the UK fishing territories, which does not look negotiable. So I think Michel Barnier is now speaking to the individual EU states to do their, what they can do to unblock the impasse at the moment. So, but the key thing is, Adrian, these tunnel negotiations, the detailed discussions now, they've got to conclude all those ahead of the EU summit on the 14th and 15th of this month to be able to get a deal done by the end of October. I mean,
yeah,
but this is the EU. They wanted, they love the last minute deals. Well, guess what? It'll be the 11th, the 59th minute of the 11th hour, I suspect.
yeah, as always. And so really, I think we can all expect that sterling's going to remain to be probably the most volatile currency, can't we, Jerry? Because we've all, everyone's got COVID going on, but we've got, the added flavour of Brexit thrown in to the mix.
We certainly have. Absolutely. So that uncertainty is going to remain, well, certainly until the end of October and possibly beyond, really, because it depends on the scope of this deal. I think it's going to be more limited than most were hoping at the outset. I still think we'll get a deal, but that uncertainty, that's going to remain, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so for traders, I think really what that means is that from a safety perspective, trade duration probably skewed to the shorter side, really, because you're likely to get sort of big shock reactions that can sort of move the market sort of more in a not random way, but it can change the direction quite quickly of the pound. So I think really just be a little bit careful, but expect bigger moves than we might normally do. Really, but it does actually make it quite an exciting time to trade. Just be careful on those trade durations. What about the commodities then, Jerry? Gold up a couple of percent last week.
Yeah,
a bit of a sell-off in the prior week, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be dominated by the US dollar, really being a dollar-based commodity. If the dollar strengthens, it's not going to perform particularly well. Add to the fact that gold had a very emotional charge in August, pushing it above $2,000. And I think we've really got ahead of ourselves, or the gold market's got ahead of itself there. And I think now with the dollar recovering from that sort of 120 level on the euro, it's caused the same reaction in gold. And I think it's going to need another leg lower in the dollar to see gold press back above $2,000 an ounce, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally for the review, oil, looking at Brent crude, so UK oil today here, that took a bit of a battering last week, wasn't it? Down about sort of 6-7%. What was that for?
Well, I think it had been struggling anyway, oil, and then eventually that Brent crude or UK oil falling through that sort of $40 level caused further sort of profit taking or long liquidation. And I think a lot of it's down to the fact that there isn't enough, there's not that pickup in demand that a lot of bulls were hoping for. And I think any lingering hopes that demand is going to pick up, I think they've really been quashed, really, as this pandemic has surged again in Europe. Look at the numbers in Madrid, look at the numbers in Paris. Wow. And generally in the UK, although we're doing almost 3 times the amount of testing that France is. So you could say we're bound to pick up more cases, but it's more the R factor, which apparently is not getting out of hand in the UK, unlike in parts of Spain and in France. So, but anyway, it's not good news because these local lockdowns that you're seeing in various parts of the UK and across Europe basically means that demand in the oil is not going to pick up at all, is it?
No, it doesn't seem like it in the short term, certainly. Okay, I think that's mostly it, Jerry. Anything else to quickly cover off on, or are we pretty much good there?
No, that's sort of a nice synopsis of what's going on. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it from us then. So what we do have this week is a couple of events on. So if you'd like to tune in and learn one of our favorite trading strategies at TrendSignal, we are an educator after all, and we're all here to help traders to get better results with their trading and to improve their understanding and knowledge, so we can take on these markets, particularly with the volatility at the moment. If October does become a more volatile month of the year, it's got some competition after previous months this year, but certainly who knows with an election, and there's a lot of opportunity around Brexit as well. So if you'd like a strategy that can help you pick up that opportunity, then come along to one of our free trading events. You can go to bit.ly/learnts. So if you're watching us, you can see it on screen. So this is our short link, bit.ly/learnts. You can register for a free place at one of our live trading events this week. We've got 3 on this week, and we'll be teaching you one of our trading strategies that we can apply to the FX, the index, and the commodity markets to identify high probability turning points in the market. It's a great strategy and one that we think could really help you take on these markets effectively. So get yourself booked in for that one. Otherwise, so for myself and Jerry, have a wonderful week's trading, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.